Good morning, all of you.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Good morning. Okay, so today, in continuation with the same history chapter, Nazism and the rise of Hitler, we'll have a look at Hitler's rise to power. Okay, we have already seen the effects of the war and political radicalism and economic crisis. We have also had to look at the years of depression, what happened then. So now we move on and we have a look at how Hitler rose to power. Okay, so we have already seen that what was the condition of the economy and the condition of the politics or the governance and the condition of the society, uh, uh, which formed now these conditions, they formed the background against which Hitler he rose to power. So we already see that the economy, it was in shatters, and politics also, people were not happy with the Weimar Republic, and then we have also seen the condition of the society. People were left with no jobs. Very few people had jobs, and those even who had, they were paid less salaries, and people were afraid that what will happen. They didn't know that whether their children will have a secure future or not. So there was despair all around, and in such conditions, Hitler he rose to power. He was born in 1889 in Austria, and uh, as a youth, he was also very poor. And when the First World War broke out, so he got enrolled for the army. Then, during his first years in the army, he acted as a messenger. He just took messages to the people, and then later on continued there. He became a corporal and also earned medals for his bravery. So when Germany was defeated in the First World War, so the German defeat, it horrified him, make him angry, and the Versailles Treaty, it made him furious. So if you remember the terms of the Versailles Treaty, so obviously all Germans were very angry and discontented with that uh, terms of the treaty. And so then in 1919, after the First World War was over, he joined a small group which was called as the German Workers' Party, and so he joined just as a member, and later on he took over that organization and gave a new name to it, which was National Socialist Party. Nationalist National Socialist Germans Workers' Party, and this party itself later on came to be known as the Nazi Party. So he joined a party and then took over the command of that party and renamed it, and that particular party later on came to be known as the Nazi Party. Then in 1923, Hitler he planned to take control of Bavaria, and then his plan was that first he will take control of Bavaria, then from there he will march to Berlin and capture the power. But he failed and he was arrested. He was tried for treason. What is treason?
Ma'am, to
Betrayal of
betray one's
one's country.
country.
Okay, betrayal
Ma'am,
of
to
one's.
betray one's
Yes,
country.
right. Okay, so he was tried for treason, and then later on he was released. And the Nazis, they could not effectively get the support of the people till the early 1930s. So though they were trying, but still they were not able to get the popular support of the people. And it was basically during the Great Depression that Nazism it became a mass movement, means it reached the masses and got the support of the masses of the people in large numbers, the common people. And if you remember, we just did that after 1929, when the Great Depression was on. So banks collapsed and businesses they were shut down, workers they lost their jobs, and the middle classes they were threatened with destitution. Now destitution is when people they are without work, and even basic necessities they are not able to afford. So the middle classes they were threatened that they will lose their work also, their jobs also, and they will not even have enough money to buy the basic necessities of life. Then in such a situation, Nazi propaganda, see what is the meaning of propaganda. It is a specific type of message which is directly aimed at influencing the opinion of the people. So some type of message which you try to with which you try to change the minds of the people, the opinions of the people. And many times, this propaganda, it cannot be true also, but it is like playing on the mind. And you just have it everywhere. Means if you open your eyes, it is in front of you. When you hear, it is that thing that you hear. So Nazi propaganda, it was all about, and it stirred hopes for a better future. So it was talking about that how it will provide a better future to the people. And so no, in 1928, the Nazi party, they only got 2.6% vote in the Reichstag, which is the German parliament. But by 1932, means during the Great Depression, it has become the largest party with 37% votes. Because because of its propaganda, and it is saying that it will bring back the pride of the people, and it will undo all the injustice that was done to the German people, and it will bring about a better future for the children. And so Hitler, he was a great powerful speaker. He was a good orator. He knew how to use words and how to motivate people. And so when he spoke with so much passion, his words, they moved the people. People were in despair. They did not have any hope, and in such a condition, a person comes, and he is so good with words. So he was able to motivate the people, and he promised that he will build a strong nation, and he will undo the justice of the Versailles Treaty, even restore the dignity of the German people. And he said that he will provide employment for those people who are looking for work, and will provide a secure future for the youth. And he also said that he will take out weed out, just like you take out the weeds. What are weeds, by the way?
Extra growings, that damage the plant.
All right. So you can say something like wild plants, right? Which we don't need. And so he said, just like we weed out those plants from the garden. And so he said that he will weed out all the foreign influences, and he will resist all the conspiracies that the people had made against the German nation. And so the condition of the people was very pathetic. The economy, the society, the politics, it was all in decline, in shatters, and there was no hope left everywhere. And then you have a person coming up and talking about all this. So obviously the people were motivated and moved by him. And he was a very intelligent man. He devised a new set of new style of politics. And he knew the significance. He knew what significance rituals, and what you see, it has a mass effect, a very lasting effect on you, what you see. And so the Nazis, they held these massive rallies and public meetings to show the support for Hitler, and also to bring about a feeling of unity among the people. And so the red banners with the swastik symbol, the Nazi salute, and the rounds of applause after every speech. So it was all done in such a nice manner, a properly rehearsed manner, organized manner. And so all this was done to show their power, to show that these people really have power, and they can do what they are promising to do. And so Nazi propaganda, it projected Hitler as a savior, a messiah, someone who has come to deliver people from their misery, and from their distress, and from their problems, and from their sorrow. And that was an image that worked on the minds of the people, on the imagination of the people, a people whose sense of dignity and pride that has been shattered. And people who had been living in a time where there was a acute crisis in economy of the country, and also politics of the country. So he rose at that time, and he talked like that. And so this image of a messiah and a savior, now this worked on the imagination and minds of the people. All right. Now, how Hitler, he destructed democracy in Germany. Okay, so on 30th January 19, this is very important. On 30th January 1933, President Hindenburg, he offered the post of chancellorship, which was the highest position in the cabinet of ministers, to Hitler. cabinet ministers are those which are given separate portfolios, important departments in the government. And so Hindenburg offered the post of chancellorship, and which was the highest position, the cabinet of ministers, to Hitler. And by this time, the Nazis, they have also got the support of conservatives on their side. Earlier the conservatives were supporting the Weimar Republic, but by this time the conservatives were also supporting Hitler. And now Hitler, having acquired power, got the support of so many people also, and now got the highest post in the German parliament also. So now he set out to dismantle, bring down the structure of democracy in Germany. Then a mysterious fire, people didn't know that how this fire got there, broke out there. And so a mysterious fire broke out in the German parliament building in February, and it helped his move. And so the fire decree of 20th February 1933, it suspended the civic rights or the civil rights of the people, like freedom of speech, freedom of expression, press, assembly, all the rights that had been guaranteed by the democratic Weimar Republic, all were suspended and taken back. And then, as soon as the civil rights, the civic rights of the people were taken back, he turned on his arch enemies, which were the communists. And most of these communists, they were packed off and sent to the newly established concentration camps. Let's see, what were concentration camps? A camp where people, they were isolated, they were not with the rest of the people. Few people, they were taken up and sent to the concentration camps, and here they were isolated and detained, and that was without any proper process of law. So you could say illegally these people were taken up and detained and sent to these concentration camps. And these concentration camps, they were surrounded by electrified barbed wires, means no one can go out of there. If one, they were placed in the concentration camps, and it was not possible for them to move out from there. And so the communists, they were the first one who were packed off, means taken up, arrested, and sent off to the concentration camps. And the repression, the way he treated the communists, it was very severe. And out of 6,808 arrest files of Dusseldorf, a small city with just half a million population, 1,440 were of the communists alone. But communists were not the only people or the only victims which were persecuted by the Nazis across the country. So they were just one of the 52 types of victims. Then, so first was the fire decree, and then the communists, they were sent off. This question comes for 5 marks, so you would need to know this properly, that how Hitler, he destructed or dismantled democracy. So all this need to be written, the how he was given the post of chancellorship, then the fire decree, then the communists, they were sent to concentration camps. And then March 3rd, 1933, the famous Enabling Act, it was passed, and this act established dictatorship in Germany and wiped out democracy from there. And this enabling power gave Hitler, just as the name suggests, enable. So it enabled Hitler, gave Hitler all powers to now sideline the parliament. And now Hitler, he could rule by decree, just by giving orders he could rule. And as a result, all political parties and trade unions except the Nazi party and its supporters or its affiliates, all were declared illegal, they were all banned. And the state, means this dictatorship state, it established complete control over the economy, the media, the army, as well as the judiciary. So now Hitler had control over all these: economy, media, army, and judiciary. Then though they already had police forces and army forces, but special surveillance and security forces, now they were also created, and to control the people and to control the society in ways that the Nazis wanted to. And so apart from already existing the regular police in green uniform and the SA or the stormtroopers, now this included the Gestapo, which was a secret police, state police, the SS, which was the protection squads, criminal police, and the security service SD. So already they were police setups, and there was army also. But now new surveillance, special surveillance force and security forces, they were set up, and they were given extra constitutional power. All the organs in the country, all the organs of the government and all the departments of the government, all the institutions of the country, they work according to the constitution. But now these forces, they were given extra constitutional power, means they did not have to abide by the constitution. And so now these extra constitutional powers which were given to these forces, now they gave the Nazi state its reputation as to being the most dreaded criminal state, because now no law and order, and the state could do as they wish. And so people, now they could be detained in Gestapo torture chambers. People, anyone who said anything about Hitler or anything about the Nazi party or anything about dictatorship, they were taken up, they were detained in torture chambers. And not only if anyone said, even the people, the types of people that Hitler did not like, all those, they were taken up without any reason and all, without even they are showing dissent. So people could be detained in torture chambers, they could round it up and sent to the concentration camps. And deported means they could expelled from the country whenever Hitler wanted, and they could be arrested without any legal procedures. And what we want to say is that the police forces, they got powers to rule with impunity. Impunity is they were exempted from punishment. They could do whatever they want to do, but they were not to be given any punishment in that. Even in our country, the police and even the military officers, if they do anything against the constitution or against the welfare of the people, there's court martial for the military people, and even for against the police department, orders are taken out. But here, they were exempted from any punishment. They could do anything, but they were not to be given any punishment on that. And so that is how Hitler, he dismantled or destroyed democracy and set up dictatorship in Germany. All right, so democracy finished off, um, dictatorship already settled, and now Hitler moved on, and he gave the responsibility of economic recovery to the economist Hjalmar Schacht. And now he Schacht, he aimed at full production and full employment. Means what he wanted, that the state, they should fund a work creation program. So a state funded work creation program was to be started, and according to that, they aimed at full production and also full employment, so that people, those people without any work, they could get employment. And so this project, they produced the famous German superhighways, and also the very well known car, the people's car, or the Volkswagen. And that is why Volkswagen, Volks means people, so people's car. Then in foreign policy also, that was a economic recovery, there also Hitler did good. And then in terms of foreign policy, Hitler acquired very quick successes. He pulled out of the League of Nations, reoccupied Rhineland in 1936. Rhineland, it was been taken up by the allied forces. And so now Hitler, he again reoccupied Rhineland in 1936, and then integrated, joined Austria and Germany in 1938 under the slogan of one people, one empire, and one leader. So Austria and Germany now one. And then he went out and he wanted to take the German speaking Sudetenland from Czechoslovakia. So in Czechoslovakia, there was an area, or where, which was called as the Sudetenland. And in this particular, you could say, city or area or territory, German speaking people resided, and he wanted to take this, he wanted all Germans to come at one place. And so he wanted to take this German speaking area, Sudetenland, from Czechoslovakia. But when he went to fight against it, he gobbled up the entire country. So he took up, or he won over the entire country. And when he was doing all this, he had the unspoken support, means of Britain was not, England was not saying anything, and it was very quiet, mum, you could say, when Hitler, he was doing all this, because England was also of the view that the Treaty of Versailles had been very strict too harsh on Germany. And so, while he was doing all these things, in the beginning, England did not say anything, and by keeping man, it supported, you could say, Germany. And all these quick successes at home also means in terms of economy, and abroad in terms of foreign policy, he got successes everywhere. And this seemed to reverse the destiny of the fate of the country. But Hitler, he did not stop here. And Sachet had advised Hitler against investing hugely in rearmament. Germany had been demilitarized by the Allied forces, and Sachet, who was the economist, he told Hitler as not to invest so much in rearming the state or in the military, because the state was still running on deficit financing. Now, what is deficit financing? That the government, it is spending more than what it is getting as revenue. So the expenditure is more, the expenditure of the government is more as what it is getting, it is earning, or it is receiving by revenue. And there's a deficit then. So this difference, it is made up by borrowing money, by taking up loans. All right. And so he said that we should not invest more in military, in rearming the country, because the state was still running on deficit financing. But cautious people, they had no place in Nazi Germany, and Sachet, he had to leave. And Hitler, he chose war as the way out of the approaching economic crisis. And he knew, Hitler knew that now, already there was no money in the country. And if he was investing so much in in military and in arming the people, then obviously he needed money. Otherwise, again, the country would be in economic decline. And so he thought that war was a way out. And he was of the view that resources, they were to be accumulated by the expansion of territory. And he wanted to expand his territory. If you wage a war, expand your territory, win over the other country, then that country will become your country also. You will expand your territory, and you will also have a control over their resources. And so that is what Hitler wanted. And so in September 1939, Germany invaded Poland, and this started a war with England and France. Then in September, so this is said to be the beginning of the Second World War. In September 1939, Germany, when it invaded Poland, so this started a war with France and England, and this was the beginning of the Second World War. Then in September 1940, a tripartite pact, means a three-party pact, was signed between Germany, Italy and Japan, and it gave Hitler more power, more claim to, and it strengthened Hitler's claim to international power. And puppet regimes, just like puppet cannot move on its own, you have to move your fingers to move a puppet. And so puppet regimes were set up, which supported Nazi Germany. They were installed in a large part of Europe, and by the end of 1940, Hitler was said to be at the pinnacle of his power, or at the peak of his power. And Hitler, now he moved on to achieve his long term aim of conquering Eastern Europe. Now Hitler always wanted to rule over Europe, and to make Germany a superpower. And so now Hitler, he moved on to achieve this long term dream of his. And then he also wanted to get food supplies and living space for the Germans. Now, what is this all about? That we'll see when we continue with the chapter. So, he wanted to get food for the German people, and also more living space for the Germans. And so, he attacked Soviet Union in June 1941. And this is said to be the historic blunder that Hitler made. Now, why? Because of this, the German West Front was exposed to the British bombing, and the Eastern Front to the powerful Soviet armies. So from both sides, East as well as the West, there was fighting on. And you could say it. Germany was sandwiched between Britain, and between the powerful Soviet armies and the Soviet Red Army. It gave such a crushing and humiliating defeat to Germany at Stalingrad, and this And after this, the Soviet army did not just defeated them, but they hounded out, like the dogs hound out the people. uh, so they hounded out the retreating German soldiers until they reached the heart of Berlin. And after that, the hegemony or the leadership or the predominance of Soviet Union was established over the entire Europe for half a century thereafter. So after that, for 50 years or more, Soviet Union, uh, they have their control or dominance over the eastern Russia. Now, meanwhile, USA, they did not have participated till now in the war, and it was not willing to participate once more, because what happened to America after the First World War, and they had suffered so many problems, economic problems, so they didn't wanted to participate in the Second World War, and but it could not stay out of war for long, because Japan, it was expanding its power in the east, and it has already occupied French Indochina, and now it was planning to attack the US naval bases in the Pacific. And so, when Japan, it gave its support to Hitler and bombed the US Pearl Harbor, the US, it entered the Second World War, and the war, it ended in May 1945 with Hitler's defeat and the US dropping off the atom bomb on Hiroshima in Japan. So, this is just a brief account of what happened in the Second World War, and now we will return to Helmut and his father's story, a story of the crimes which Nazis committed during the Second World War. Okay, so for today I'll stop here. Have you all understood? Is there anything that you have not understood, class 9th?
No, ma'am.
All clear?
No. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.